So we're in a series called The Big Picture, and that's where we're going to take it on tonight. Last week we talked about one of the questions, it's a very good question to ask, is what's your problem? Sometimes people ask that facetiously. Maybe they're just angry that you cut them off in traffic, but it's a really good question to consider. What is our problem? And you can see we kind of went back over it. Here's my little Sunday school board / Daniel and other people's artwork board from band practice. So I felt bad erasing their stuff because it was really nice. But that's some of the stuff we're going to go. We're kind of taking this series on Sundays. If you come at 9:15, like Dave said, we're going to take this and be able to kind of interact with it a little bit more. So that's some of the stuff that we went over in Sunday school. But basically, what we talked about last week was that even though we all admit that we have problems at some level, there's even a problem with our problems. And one of them is that we may not even see all of our problems. We may focus on other people's problems, perhaps. Maybe we see ours, but we don't. It kind of hurts to focus on ours, so we focus on another person's problems because that's a little bit easier, more comfortable. And perhaps we see our problem, but we don't see the whole thing. We just see the tip of it. We don't see the whole root of the problem. And so those are some of the issues we talked about. And that was last week. But this week we're going to look at one of the fundamental problems, you could say, of all humanity. And people from all time have been asking this question. People from all time have been considering this. And the question is, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? If you go back to our pictures here from New York, talking about there's a street level sense of New York City, and there's a sky level sense over here. On a street level sense, if you're trying to go somewhere, you just making turns, and nowadays we have GPS. You guys have a GPS built into your car, maybe there it is. Just stick them in there now. They don't even figure you need to know anything. They just stick them in there now. But so you follow your GPS, but before the days of GPS, it was pretty easy to get lost in big cities. If you didn't really know your way around, you could make a wrong turn and start turning, and you didn't know where you were. And so it's good to have a sky level view. If we want to know and get to the place we're supposed to go, it's good to have a sky level view, a map perhaps, to see the whole big picture. And part of having a sky level view is having an understanding of where am I trying to go. So you can drive all day long through New York City and be lost all day, especially if you don't know where you're trying to go. Someone could say, hey, meet me, and they don't tell you where, and you're just driving around. You're going to be driving around the whole day and never going to find it. It's a big place. And so we need to have an understanding of where we're going if we want to get there. Here's a reality that a lot of people are pointing at with young people today. That people are always mad at young people. They're always messed up, right? Seems like old people always have problems with young people. And that's probably always been, right? Old people got it all right, young people got it all wrong. But here's something that a lot of people are identifying with this generation, is that this generation is becoming more and more directionless. More and more unable to find a sense of where I want to go, what I want to do with my life, what my life is about. And this is becoming not just old people and their perception, but becoming more of a reality that you can actually measure. There's becoming more books written about this and more people studying this phenomenon, is where people can't seem to figure out, what am I doing in life? What is my direction? What is my purpose? We're becoming a directionless generation. Now, there's movies. There was one, Failure to Launch. You ever see that one? It was good. No, I don't remember. It wasn't that great. There's other ones too. It's all good. I saw that at some point. Any movie with Matthew McConaughey is, Okay, we're not going to go there right now. Okay, so there's movies out there. There's the idea of boomerang kids. You ever heard of that? You know what that means? It means you get launched out there, you're going to go somewhere in life, and then you come flying back and live in your mom's basement. You see that? That happens sometimes. You got a big brother, big sister, they're living there, right? And that's a reality of your 20s. I know this is not the group for that yet, right? That's the young adults group. You guys are teenagers, mostly. Some of you guys are in your 20s or getting there. But this is something to think about now. What's the purpose of my life? Where's my life headed? What am I here for? And so, it's like a little hum back there. Let's we fix that? I like humming. It's nice, but it's a little too hummy. Here's a guy, William Damon. I was looking this up. He's a professor at Stanford. He wrote The Path to Purpose. So this guy's trying to help this generation. He's studied this generation. This is what he says. I think I have a slide for this if you go ahead. He says that only about 1 in 5, a little bit under 1 in 5 young people between the age of 12 to 22 are able to express a clear vision of what they want, of where they want to go, what they want to accomplish in life, and why. So it's about, keep going, those are nice pictures too. But the green, that little green section represents the people who, 12 to 22, can say, you know what, this is a sense of direction that I have in life. This is, why I want to go there, and I can express that to other people. Maybe 1 in 5. The yellow section there represents, it's about 60%, a little bit under that, of the majority of young people that say, you know what, I'm not sure what my direction, my purpose is. I have kind of an idea, maybe a sense, but I'm not sure, and most of these people are not really doing much about it. Maybe taking a step here, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's the majority of young people. I don't think I know. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I think I kind of like this, I think kind of like that, but they're not really taking a lot of steps in that direction. Don't have any real commitment to any activities or realistic plans for pursuing their aspirations. And the remaining portion, this is I found actually kind of interesting. It's almost 1/4, a quarter of all those interviewed in this study expressed no aspirations at all. No purpose, no hopes, no dreams, no sense of direction whatsoever. Basically, and they even claim to think that they needed to. So ask them, like, what's your goal? What's your plan? What's your dream? What's your life all about? I don't know. I don't really care. That was the answer. I don't know if they had their headset in for the Xbox. I'm not sure if that may have blocked the question. I don't know. That can be a problem sometimes. But that's what's going on. You can probably click through there a little bit more. And this is what this guy said. His conclusion was straightforward. He said, for young people, finding a clear purpose in life is essential for their achievement and happiness. Right. So this guy, I don't think he's a believer or Christian, but this is just a guy from Stanford who's studying this. He says for people to have happiness, for young people to find happiness, they need a clear sense of purpose and direction. This is what anybody who is even studying this would conclude. So why are young people today having such a difficult time finding direction and purpose? What's the cause behind this? And there may be a lot of factors. I'll just throw this your way real quick. Why do you think there is such an issue with this today? Sam, what'd you say? If you can blame it on school, let's do it. It's school's fault. Yes. You're not far off, though. I'll come to that in a second. Sam says school. What does that mean?
Like, sometimes we get so wrapped up in what we want and like what is popular and what is low life that we don't really think about what the heck we do.
Okay, so just kind of get wrapped up in the mix of everything that's popular, what's going on. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Jonathan.
Stress.
This is a nugget. Stress? That's good, man. Stress is a problem. Somebody else?
You're in the back.
In the back, Michelle?
Concentrating on things that are going to be short term instead of long term.
Yeah. This is good. Give me one example of something like that, though.
A relationship.
Uh-oh. Yeah. No, I mean, not that you guys would ever have done that before, but maybe you have a friend who would maybe got into a relationship that was going nowhere. Which is, you got me on that. So which is possibly 99.9% of all teenage relationships. Just if I can say that right now. But we'll talk about dating another week. So, anyways. What else? Anybody other? Brenton?
Music, because music affects your way of thinking, and you can just tell that music has really changed in the past, I guess you can say, a couple of decades. Because before, at least, like, rap used to be about, getting out of that whatever, getting out of the struggle and stuff, and today it's trash, mostly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, your choice of music probably, whether you want to believe this or not, does play an impact on the way you think. So if you're listening to things that are contrary to living on purpose and living for something greater, it's going to influence the way you think. I know a lot of times we don't want to really buy into that because then that makes us confront our music, and we like our music. So, but that's reality. Natasha? Hi. Hey, Natasha. Abigail's head is in the way. Good to see you. It's all right. Yeah. Good. That's good. You guys are actually hitting everything I'm about to say. So before I don't have a message left, I'll just keep going. So this is what the guy, William David, he says this. One of his conclusions, him just being a researcher, a professor or whatever he is at Stanford, he focused on school. Sam, you said school. He says that in schools, all this focus on the short-term goals of do this homework assignment, do this test, do this quiz, do this thing, next semester, it keeps us, like we're talking here, it keeps us focused only on the street level of our life. We only think, can I get through this week? Okay, I made it through this week. Can I get through this next week? Can I get through this quarter? And we don't really get a big view of what's the purpose of all this. And he focused on the fact that in school, a lot of times we don't see the connection of why we're doing it. Why am I in calculus? What is calculus? Right? So, I mean, sometimes we don't see the connection, we don't see where, and so we lose a sense of what's the purpose of all this. And we get kind of distracted, we only want to do it with all of our heart because we don't see what's the point. And so that's what one of his conclusions is, that a lot of times we don't set schools up in a way to help people think of the big picture. They don't think about how this connects to the rest of my life. They just think about how can I make the grade on this test so I can have a good grade, or whatever it might be. And he says this, let me give you one more quote and I'll keep moving. It says, it's the kids who don't know why they're working so hard who express anxiety, stress, and disengagement. So some people are working so hard. Looking at Emily, I think of you when I think of hard work for some reason. I don't know why. Hard work, studying, and sometimes you just get caught up in the mess of it all and you're like, what am I doing? What's my life about? I haven't even thought about anything lately. And for Christians here, somebody's like, man, I haven't read my Bible in like forever because I've been so busy with just like the littlest things here and there. And I don't even know, haven't thought about the greater things of life because I'm just caught up in the day-to-day of school. And sometimes that's what it does to us. And I'm not saying you forget school and just, open your Bible and read it forever and to just think your homework is going to get done by itself. But it is important to take a break and focus on things beyond just the day-to-day. And sometimes that day-to-day is school. But to take this a little bit deeper, you guys said a lot of things. Let me just throw in another thing that you may not have thought, but sometimes it's a worldview issue. Purpose. What is this idea of purpose? Your purpose, my purpose. Is there a purpose to all of life? This has to do, and we were talking in Sunday school for a while about worldviews, and the predominant worldview of Western society for a long time was based on the Bible, for a long time. Now, it was sometimes loosely based, wasn't maybe exactly on the Bible, but the idea that there's a God who created, and depending on the time frame, different details, right? Today, that's not true. The predominant worldview of our society is not that there's a God who created, but that the world itself was exploded into existence, right? That we have a science called scientific naturalism, right? Some of you guys in college, maybe you've encountered this, but basically that there really isn't a God behind all of this, but that it's just stuff. There's just things. There's just objects. And so if there isn't a God, which is what a lot of people, is their underlying belief, how can there be purpose? How can there be meaning to anything? And this is where a lot of people will go. In fact, even some atheists will agree to that. Some of these really smart, so to speak, guys will say, you know what? There really isn't a real purpose to this. If you really want to boil down the idea, if there's no God, we really don't have a purpose. So we just have to make one up. And so the common wisdom, when you follow out scientific naturalism, there's no God, we just kind of exploded into existence, that we're just an accident. This is the popular wisdom that results from that. That there's no particular destination at all for your life. Because who can say, right? Who really sets the fact that there's a destination? There's no particular place for you to go because who would say there is? And so if you want a destination, if you want a purpose, you make it for yourself. This is the popular wisdom you'll hear because, man, you can search YouTube right now and there's going to be video after video. There'll be like a Muslim guy, an Indian guy, a Buddhist guy, an atheist. I'm serious. I just did this recently. Purpose of life. All these people telling you the purpose of life from all these different perspectives, but most of it is always just, you set the purpose for your life. You set it. Okay? Whatever you think it is, that's what it is. And you follow that with all your heart. That's the basic wisdom of the world. The purpose of life is what you say it is. So go after it with all the gusto that you have. And some people will even say, it's not about a destination. If you're going through New York, it's not that there's a particular place you're supposed to go to. It's just the drive in the taxi cab all throughout the city. That's the purpose of life. To just take in the view, take in the experiences, and that is the purpose of life. It's not that you're trying to get anywhere. It's just that you're driving around, and you should enjoy the drive. So here's a quote. I put it even from Eleanor Roosevelt here. Wonderful person, I'm sure. She said, the purpose of life is to live it, to taste experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experience. Essentially, she's saying the purpose of life is to have a lot of different experiences and to try a lot of different things. That's the purpose. And that's what you see today in young adults. So many young adults can't get traction in their life because they're too busy trying everything. Because that's the purpose, right? So let me try this job for like 3 minutes. Let me try this relationship for 2 weeks. Let me try this drug for like maybe a couple months. Let me go this direction. And it's all these different things because we've been sold this lie that the purpose of life is just to have as much experiences that you can have. And that's the purpose. And I'm not saying experiences are wrong or bad. We should enjoy the journey. I think the Bible would even say that, and some of the illustrations it gives for our life is that we're on a race or a journey, or there is a sense of journey that we're on. But that's not the whole point, is just to wander around aimlessly and have experiences. There's something greater to our purpose. And even if you don't feel like you have a purpose, maybe you're sitting there like, I don't even know all this stuff. Even if you never find your purpose, you're going to live for some reason. You're going to live for some end. Your life is going to be about something. And so this is important to try to understand whether you've got this far yet in your life, whether you're really thinking about this. Maybe you're like the person, hey man, I'm just trying to get my homework done. I'm just trying to make it through this week. I'm just trying not to get yelled at by my parents. That's what I'm trying to accomplish. And those things are important, I'm sure. But there's a greater thing than that we can focus on. And so how do you find your life's purpose? Here's 2 things I think are quite essential in finding our life's purpose. And there may be more than this, but here's 2 things. Number 1, by drawing nearer to God. Natasha, just like you said, by drawing nearer to God. God is the compass, right? Why is this important? Let's break this down. Our purpose, number 1, is found in God. This is essential understanding. This is not what you'll hear in YouTube. It's not what you hear in the world or just common popular wisdom. They're not going to say your purpose is in God. But coming from a Christian perspective, coming from a people that believe in the Bible, believe in God, we understand our purpose is found in Him. And even if atheists can say, you just have to make up a purpose if there's not a God. I think we can see some truth to this. Our purpose is found in God. Colossians 1:16 says this, for everything, absolutely everything, above and below, visible and invisible, everything got started in Him and finds its purpose in Him. That's the Message translation. Ephesians 5:17 in the Message says, don't live carelessly, unthinkingly. Make sure you understand what the Master wants. So God is having a purpose for our life. He wants something for us as individuals and as people. God as creator sets the purpose for His creation. Now I need some help. I need 2 people real quick. Sam and John. The best helpers I could find, no doubt about it. Hold this. Don't cut your finger off. Okay. Hold this. There we go. This is good. No, this is great. Give a circular saw to Sam. Anybody? Speed dial 911 real quick. Okay? All right. It's good? Okay. I want you to... Now, I kind of ruined it because I said it, but... Sam, do you know what this is right here? It said it right there. This is, all right. Were you to guess? Make a guess. What do you think it is? Okay. What type of saw is it? Don't look at that. It actually says. I didn't realize that. What would you do with this? Cut wood? What type of wood?
What type of wood?
Just wood. Okay, that's good. All right, so that's pretty good. He knows this is a saw. Okay, so you're saying this has a purpose to it, right? Okay, so what else could this be used for? You guys are sick. You guys seen too many of those movies. All right, too many. All right, too much. That's sick. You could use this as a doorstop, right? You could murder somebody. Although I wouldn't advise that. Yeah. You could possibly. Oh, there's probably some other things we could do this. If you were to ask Lily what this is, she'd probably have no idea. That's my daughter, 5-year-old. Probably wouldn't know. You know what I'm saying? And if I give it to her, hey, here you go, happy birthday. I think she would just be really confused, right? Because she doesn't have any background on what this thing is. But this is a saw, and it's made for a reason. There's certain uses for it. And somebody invented this, right? Somebody came along and said, you know what? This thing would be cool to cut wood. All types of wood. Any type of wood. And there's actually, if you get into construction, there's certain uses for this in cutting that you wouldn't use. There's certain wood that you're not going to cut with this. That was a question I was asking him beyond the scope of it. But you don't cut through the wall with this. There's certain other saws you would use. You don't use it. I have a jigsaw back there. You use it to make puzzles and stuff. You can't do that with this saw. There's certain uses for a circular saw. And so forth. Okay, so what is this over here, Jonathan? What do you have? A thing. That's a good start. That's a good start. What is it? Look at it. What do you think? What would you do with that? A smooth the surface thing? Smooth out the desk? Okay, why don't you hold it up and see if anybody else can guess. What is this? What does Jonathan have? A sander. Yes, it is a sander. Okay, and this is not, there's actually multiple types of sanders, right, Dave? This is not a belt sander. I can't remember what it's called, but there's a certain, what's the name of this type of sander? I don't know. Okay, but there's certain, even different sanders, and they all have different purposes, okay? And so this sander, the guy who invented this, didn't invent it to cut through wood, right? That's what this thing's for. This one is invented to smooth the wood if you're making a desk, right? So you can go do your homework, right? So this is what this one's for. And they have unique and individual purposes because somebody designed them. And I could take this and I could try to cut through a board and actually give me enough time and enough pieces of sandpaper, it'll make it through. I could make this have a different purpose if I want to. I could take this and the sicko's over here. I could beat somebody over the head with it and it could be a murder, okay? But that's not the purpose of this sander. I'm taking it and I'm distorting its purpose. And so I just wanted to use these objects here as just to illustrate the fact that for these things to have a purpose, they have to have a designer. Someone has to think this stuff up. And then that person creates the reason for their existence. And then you can take these after the fact, after they've been assigned a purpose, and use them for other purposes. You can take it and use it as a doorstop. Is that going to destroy it? No. But it's going to be a waste of its, whatever it costs. If it's $80, $100 and you use it as a doorstop, you could have got a little piece of wood for nothing, right? So there's a lot of things where we can take our purpose and we can use our life for whatever we want, but God is the one who gives us our true purpose. So we have to connect to Him. Thank you guys for participating. You guys are awesome. Give me a hand. So we find our purpose in God. Just like these tools have their purpose because someone thought them up and made them, we have been thought up and made by God, and we find our purpose in Him. Secondly, when we draw near to God, the second way is our purpose isn't primarily about us, it's about Him. Our purpose isn't primarily about us, it's about Him. So, Proverbs 16:4, the Lord has made everything for His own purposes. The Lord has made everything for His own purposes. And this is even doubly true for Christians. In fact, when we ask the question, what is the purpose of my life? What's the purpose of my life? Why am I here? We're actually asking the wrong question. Why? Because it's not really my life to begin with. It's not really your life to begin with. If you're a Christian, and listen to this verse. 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20. You surely know that your body is a temple where the Holy Spirit lives. The Spirit is in you and is a gift from God. You are no longer your own. God paid a great price for you, so use your body to honor God. It says that you are no longer your own. Especially as believers, we have to understand that my life is not really my own. It's on loan to me. That God has bought me and purchased me at a price. So what I do with my life is not just whatever I want to do, and I can consult God for His advice here and there, but my life is His. He's bought me back. He's given me this life, and so I use it to His purpose. The third thing here, there's a general purpose that all people share. The purpose for your life is not completely unique to you. Okay, there's a general sense that we all have the same purpose. Let me share with you what the Bible says. Romans 11:36 says this, everything comes from God alone. Everything lives by His power, and everything is for His glory. Christians in 1600 put it together like this in the Westminster Shorter Catechism. They just said it this way, what's the chief end of man? To glorify God and to enjoy Him forever. What's our purpose? Everybody, no matter if you're a saw, if you're a sander, however God made you, you're to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. That's everybody's purpose. And so there's certain things that we share in common, no matter how unique and crazy you think you are as a human being, how individualistic, however you feel you're wired differently than everyone else. Some of us, we all have the same purpose, which is to glorify God and to enjoy Him forever. And the final thing here, drawing near to God allows us to hear His voice and follow His lead. Jesus illustrated our relationship with God in a number of ways. And one in particular is the sheep and shepherd. He's the good shepherd and we're the sheep. John 10, 2-4 says this, the man who enters the gate is the shepherd of the sheep, that's Jesus. The watchman opens the gate for him and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he's brought out all of his own, he goes ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. I want you to hear this. Finding direction in your life comes from learning to listen to the voice of the Good Shepherd. Finding direction in your life comes from learning to listen and discern what the voice of God is. What is He saying to me? This is how, it's not just that there's a universal purpose, and there is, but there's a specific purpose for your life that God will speak to you when you listen to Him, when you pay attention to the voice of the Good Shepherd. He's leading us in a particular direction. That's what the Scripture says, but we have to listen to His voice. And in the Scripture it says that the strangers' voices are being spoken as well. And sometimes, the fact is, sometimes we listen to these other voices, and that's where we figure our purpose is. We lose sight of the voice of God, and we start listening to everything else, and we lose sight of what our true purpose is. But if we want to find our purpose, we need to listen to the voice of God. I'm going to wrap it up with this second point, and then we're going to go into groups to kind of finish out tonight. It's a little bit different. We're going to discuss this together, and we're going to pray together. So I know it's a flip-flop what we normally do, but I want us to kind of have that time to kind of talk about this. So how do you find your purpose? By knowing and drawing near to God. And number two, by understanding yourself. By understanding yourself. And this is where Christians and pretty much all experts agree. All right, so you can cross-section anybody, and they're going to say, even all the way back to Socrates, who said what? Know thyself. This is something that is fundamental about how God has made us. He's made us different. Okay, everybody in this room is slightly different than the people around them. And that's okay, that's great. Because God has made us with unique capacities and abilities. And so it's important that we understand how God has made us. And this is, I'm going to talk about this on Sunday in Sunday school. So I invite you to come and be a part of this little discussion. We're going to look at discovering our shape. And this is an acronym for this. Your spiritual gifts, which is S. Your heart. So spiritual gifts, the Bible talks a lot about that, what those are. We're going to talk about that Sunday. Your heart, this is the things that you're passionate about. Number three, your abilities. These are the things that you may be good at, your aptitude, the stuff you're skilled at. Your personality. You got it?
I know, I knew it was going to be personality.
You got that, dude. Personality. We're all have different personalities. And E is for experience. We all have individual experiences in life. This is what makes us who we are. Oh my word. Yes, it does. That was on purpose. Yeah. Get it? We're going to talk about that on Sunday, so I won't go into all that. But that basically makes us up who we are individually and uniquely. We all have individual experiences that nobody else can necessarily replicate. And that makes us unique as individuals. So here's the thing. I'll say this and we'll go into our groups. Even at this time in your life, sometimes we get a lot. Sometimes if you think about your purpose, it can be frustrating. Like you want to know. Some people really want to know, and it can be frustrating because you look at yourself, you're like, I don't even know who I am. I don't really know what I'm into. I can't even discern that. And then you look at the God piece of it all, like, man, I'm trying to listen, but I can't really hear anything, and it can get frustrating. And I just want to encourage you that you don't have to settle every bit of your life's purpose all at once. In fact, God normally will reveal it bit by bit, piece by piece. He's not necessarily going to download the whole story and direction of your life in one moment. But it's something that we discover as we walk with Him. And if you want to kind of read about how that worked out for one guy in the Old Testament, look at Abraham. This guy got a message, a clear voice from God saying, hey, I want you to pick up and move and just follow me. And he didn't get the whole picture. He didn't get every step of the way. He just said, okay, God, I'll obey you and I'll leave my land and I'll follow you wherever you lead me. And each step of the way, God would reveal a little bit more. Hey, I'm going to bless you. Hey, I'm going to do this. This is what your life's all about. And on and on. And this is how God showed Abraham what his purpose was. But it started by taking the first step. By just obeying God with what He told him. And so don't get so caught up. If you're like, man, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. Man, I don't even know what I'm into. Just start taking the first step. Maybe it's just, you know what? God, I want to be more open to you. I want to listen to your voice more. I haven't really been doing that. Or maybe it's like, I want to really figure out who I am rather than what everybody else is telling me, what everybody else is doing, all this stuff. I really want to figure out who you've made me to be. And so that's what we need to do. Take the next step, and then God will begin bit by bit to reveal His purpose in our life.